Hello, everybody. Welcome to Two Bi Guys. I am Rob. If you're listening to this on the day it comes out, it is November 4th, 2024, one day before the most consequential and important election of our lifetimes. Please go vote if you haven't already. Please make a plan to vote tomorrow if you did not vote early. It is so important, the stakes could not be higher. If you don't quite understand why we keep saying it's the most important election of our lifetimes for the past few cycles, then you don't really understand what's going on, do you? Because it is. And it has been, and it is getting worse and worse every year, and the Republican Party is getting more and more radicalized by Donald Trump. We have never had two parties that are so far apart. Hopefully someday in the future it will be less consequential, but this time it truly is dire. We have one party that values truth and one party that lies constantly. We have one party that values democracy and another party that is run by a fascist. We have one party that respects and cares about the people of this country and is trying to help those who are marginalized and less fortunate, and another party that only cares about enriching themselves and staying in power. We have one party that respects the rule of law and another party that is not only corrupt but criminal, and many of whom are traitors to the United States and working with our enemies. The Democratic Party is not perfect. I agree. I have many complaints. But a presidential election is one of the few binary choices in life. If you listen to this podcast, you know that I think most things are not binary, and there is a spectrum. And there is certainly a spectrum moving forward after tomorrow. But this choice is binary. You can either help the cause and lay foundations to be able to make progress on all the things we care about moving forward, or you can set us back decades, and especially for queer people and women and trans people and marginalized people of all types, you will be setting us back decades, and many people will be hurt and many will die if Trump is elected. That's my brief rant. Go back to 2 episodes ago if you want to listen to me and RJ Aguiar talk about this some more, although hopefully by now you've made up your mind, you've voted, and if you haven't, go vote. Once you've done that, feel free to listen to the rest of this episode. It's really lovely, and it's not really about politics, although, of course, our sexuality is political and it is all tangled together in interesting ways. And a lot of what we talk about is political, even though it's also personal. So enjoy part 2 of my chat with Vera and Leroy Duivenvoorden-Westenberg. After editing the first episode, I remember how to pronounce their names now. They are lovely. Hopefully this chat will make your heart feel good. We talked a little bit more about the queer scene in Amsterdam, and then we spent most of this episode talking about polyamory and open relationships and various things they've learned and have dealt with because they're navigating that. It's really interesting. I love chatting with them. I hope you enjoy this episode. I can't think of anything else to say except go vote. Fingers crossed. Hopefully we'll be in a better place on the other side of it. I do have a couple more episodes this season coming up about bi representation in film and TV with my friend Aaron Hammersley. Stay tuned for that. And another quick reminder, group coaching has resumed for all LGBTQ people who want to come get coached by me. It's every other Wednesday. You can check my website, robertbrookscohen.com, to see the dates and to sign up. I got some new exciting things planned for 2025 in terms of my coaching practice, expanding it even more and offering even more. So stay tuned for that. And now, without further ado, here is part 2 of my chat with Vera and Leroy. Enjoy. One more question about Amsterdam, and that's interesting that it's the same thing that I've experienced. Like there's the gay male scene, and then maybe there's a lesbian bar here and there, and then there isn't really always a bi scene, but the bi people show up to places, and it's more of these queer spaces. Like that's where I also feel the most comfortable, is a party that's queer, and you can just tell the vibe
and the people don't assume
gender makeup.
anything.
Right. And right, you can't assume anything about people's gender or their pronouns or their sexuality at all. It's just
amazing,
a mix of everything, which is
people wonder why we don't go to straight bars anymore. This sounds like wonderful, right? It's very Berlin-y sometimes as well. Like we obviously in Europe, it's very different than America because we have everything very nearby. So we have some community in Paris as well, and they
in
are
Paris also very.
just so helped for us to connect with them, because it's a completely other language, way more romantic, way more polyamory in their language.
Yeah, it's amazing. The French are the best.
Interesting.
Yes.
And then you have that's like 4 or 5 hours away. Then you have Berlin,
Yeah.
which is 8-9 hours away, so you can
Yeah.
party there and then catch that vibe.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
the European,
We reach out to different cities that are quite close.
Yeah.
It's
And for
cool.
example, the Parisian scene, or at least the people that we found,
very
bisexual, but also there's like this whole libertine culture in Paris where the more swinger kind of things are in culture already quite obvious and always have been there. So there's a lot of culture exactly around. I mean, the word polyamory is French, and so there's a lot of, it's just ingrained a little bit more to be, I don't know, more open or loving, and I don't think that's true for everything and everyone there, of course not, but
it's just a little community we found.
A little community we found
Cool.
there with the bisexual polyamorous people that love to party hard. So that's a nice
we should have more here.
Yeah, we should. Yeah.
You should throw parties.
You should throw more parties.
You should throw parties.
Yeah.
That's a perfect segue, except I have one more thing to ask about Amsterdam, which is like, why do you think everyone is so hot? Like my experience has been both men and women and everyone in between is like really attractive in Amsterdam. I'm like just staring at people when I go there. I went to a gym last time I was there. Like, I mean, you too, and then beyond. I went to the gym there for a couple days. Like I got a guest pass, and I've never seen so many like beautiful people in one place as I have at that gym in Amsterdam. Everyone's so tall and fit, and oh my god!
Yeah, I don't know.
Why is that?
It's colonizers. They get like all the strong, long, right? I mean,
you mean we ate everything?
We ate all the food in the world there was to find, and maybe because of that, we're strong, tall people.
I'm not going to explain how I came to look.
Yeah, why are you both so hot? Tell me. Also, explain it for me.
And also being like this.
I wouldn't say that, but I think partly
we colonized the beauty ideal as well.
Yes, that is it. It's colonizing the beauty ideal. Yes. That is it. Yes.
Okay.
It is. It has to do with the image. Yes.
Yes, because we took
So I just think everyone's hot because that's the way that the Dutch shaped the world to think that that's what's attractive.
Rob. Yes.
Oh, you did? Yes.
I used to be a model in New York, right, Rob? You remember?
Right. Oh, right. In New York, I did. I forgot about that part.
Yeah, so not everybody in Amsterdam is this hot.
Not this hot.
Okay, of course. I just happen to be connecting with the former models, and okay. Okay, good answer. It all comes back to colonization, and it's not actually objective hotness. It's just what I've been taught to value. But either way, it's fun it's a fun place to be.
It is a fun place to be.
Yeah, cool. So let's get into it. So the bi journey is one thing. There's some overlap with polyamory, obviously, even though they're not the same thing. One thing does not equal the other.
Nope.
But you guys have opened up your relationship, and I identify as poly, or tell me how you identify, and like what was that journey? When did you realize? How did you talk about that with each other? Let's start there.
So I think it came from that week of talking already, because like obviously it had some kind of a push behind it to tell what you feel sexually, and I am always very much on board with but it doesn't mean that bisexual people are highly sexual. I do agree with all that, but also for me, it has been the motor behind telling Vera that I'm bisexual, that I was actually very frustrated, and that I don't want to pretend like sex doesn't have to do anything with bisexuality. So I always include that in my story, I think. And then at one point we were talking about that around that subject. Like,
I think we right away talked about, we don't know what it means yet for a relationship, but we don't exclude the idea that we would ever be open. Not now, but we could, have that as a possibility somewhere, because what do we know,
I didn't want that right then either, because I
No.
didn't want to tell it because
No, and it
this
was
is what I want and I figured it out and I need a dick in my mouth. No, I was like, not I was
no, that was not the
but it did open up all those moments to be able to say these things. And I say it this hard to kind of like shock. And I did it with Vera as well, because you need to train yourself, I guess, I found out, to
be
not
comfortable,
have a normative relationship. So
you really have
opening
to
up that it's okay to talk about sex,
that
it's okay to talk about
you really pointed out, like, sometimes, like, oh, I really think this guy is super hot, or this is super sexy, or I would find this super hot to do during sex or something.
That was a lot of work.
Yeah.
Because Vera was not there. Like, first of all, you don't work like that. You don't. And then I thought, like, oh, you should also say things like that to me. Then it's kind of like equal, but that's not
how it
true
works.
Because Vera,
for me, it doesn't work like that. For me, it's not like, oh, look at this hot, I want to have sex with it. No,
more
it's for me. Yeah, for me, more demisexual like that. But for you, it was very important to talk about your attraction to men as well, and the things that you find sexy or hot, or that you, I don't know.
So we try to open that up, I guess. Also, because if I didn't talk about that, and then it became smaller again, that thing that we unpacked for a week. And
you want to be able to say the thoughts that come into your head, especially the ones that you've been pushing down for a while.
So provoke it as well a little bit.
Or, because you also sometimes were you said sometimes to me, like, okay, it's getting darker again. The bisexual thing is can't be, I'm pushing it away again, or I feel
this
frustrated.
Was the hardest time. I
this
think,
was
for
absolutely
us.
the hardest time, because for me at that moment there was not a real. I didn't really have to talk about it that much, because I was okay where I was. But you really needed to talk about it, and you were sometimes like, Vera, I also need you to be the one starting this conversation. I cannot always be the one to start this conversation with you about the attraction that I feel towards men, but also the sexual attraction that I feel towards men. So
that makes sense. Like, a lot of guys I've talked to who are married when they come out, and a lot of guys I'm coaching right now, it's like, once they're out, they want to talk about it a lot. There's a lot in there that hasn't come out. And that was when I came out for like a year. It was all I talked about for the whole year. But it's hard if you're in a marriage and the other person doesn't want to talk. Like, with some people, okay, I heard that. Now I don't want to talk about it all the time. And that's really difficult for the guy.
But it wasn't that though, because
it's not that with you. I'm saying with others, I've heard that. But
whenever I would start like a conversation, Vera would like talk back and stuff like that. But at the moment it was hard for us was when that was still a big hill to climb, to bring up something that I wanted, and that I felt like there was no space. So we really had to train our relationship to create space for that automatically. And that has just been so, and that's where the crying and the fights were sometimes. Like, how are we gonna
overcome this?
Like, we can't go in circles every time. Like, oh, we talk it out, and then after a few months, like, we haven't talked about, either, like, you were like, what do you want to talk about then, like, around bisexual, like, so that was a difficult loop, and then that broke.
How did that break?
How did it break?
Maybe it was around, also I think the conversations also started to become more like you having, like, you were like, okay, great, bisexuality, conceptually, awesome, you got it, great. But what does it actually mean if it were to be put in practice? Or the
Ah,
sexual thing would be
yes.
put in practice? Because you were like,
Yeah.
I want a dick in my mouth. That's honestly the thing that you were like, very focused on at the time. Um, and yeah, well,
It's a nice thing to do. Yeah.
yeah, right.
For you and for the dick
For
owner.
everyone.
Vitamin
Everyone's
D.
happy.
I mean,
Wait,
um,
Lyra, had you explored with men before this at all, like when you were younger?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Okay. So it's
and
because that makes a difference for some people, like if they've never tried it versus
yeah.
if they have.
I don't
But
think it
either
made.
way, it's still something you could want. Yeah.
I don't think
mhm.
it made as much as a difference as I wanted it to when I, was like, oh, then I've had that, sex,
Right.
and then then I'm good. That doesn't work like that.
You didn't
So
feel that. You were like,
yeah,
I
it
had that,
doesn't.
and also I want to try that again.
Yeah.
But
But I think,
I
yeah.
think the actual answer, because you see us thinking about it as well, the answer
Yeah.
is fucking time. The answer is time. The answer is not having a resolve. The
No.
answer is doing that circle all the time and then holding each other.
Yeah, and being frustrated and crying and doing the whole thing
Hmm.
over and over.
And then reading more about
Yeah.
being
Well,
open
at some
or
point, because that became more and more a conversation of, okay, but what would it mean if we were open then? Or would it be something that could fit? Or would it be open or ethical non-monogamy or, this stuff,
Yeah.
words like that? And I think I started reading Esther Perel, of course, as you do if you want to, learn more about
her, Rob. You started
relationships.
this whole podcast with Where
Oh,
Should
yeah.
We
She's
Begin?
great.
Yeah, I love her.
Yeah. She's great.
And I did, I read it, and I think I read it out loud a lot of parts. And at some point, we were both on a conceptual level and an intellectual level. We're like, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Monogamy. It's a crazy idea that you want to be that you say like, okay, it's just gonna be you for the rest of time.
Yeah.
Even the word monogamy doesn't even come from the idea that you would be with even more people in your whole lifetime. So the whole
Yeah.
idea of monogamy started to break down.
Broke enough shit down, and then our circle broke down from.
But then still putting it into practice was a lot.
Yes, it
And
was
you were,
fun as
Yeah.
well. I
and
mean,
but you at some point we were like, okay, maybe we should go on one of the apps, or yeah, but then still that took a long time before we
but
sent
also
a
like
message.
honestly,
Or
it's not like
talking to
finding a.
guys on.
I think you told a colleague this like a few days ago about. You said something about personal development. It's not about becoming better. It's about gaining new perspectives on yourself.
Yeah,
And if I look back on
it's true. I
myself,
told a colleague this
yes,
week.
because because you're a vision.
I felt very,
Right.
If I look back on that period, I feel like we were giving ourselves that perspective in order for us to break that little loop down of feeling like not seen or feeling like it had to do a lot with trusting that the other person wants the best thing
yeah.
for you and not rooted in relationships. So you really have to kind of like unlearn all these things and
Yeah.
learn
A
new
lot of
things, and then
unlearning.
have some fun, because like it was also fun that we uh, not even like completely broken free from that loop yet of what are we gonna do, and then we had a date standing here in the living room that we had.
Okay, but that was at some point that they didn't show up from out of nowhere. We were on vacation, I think, so we were on holidays for like 3 weeks, and that also.
Did I skip a part?
Yeah, you skipped a part. But that I think that was the first time when we were on holidays after having conceptualized and intellectualized this for a while. I think we were on holidays, and then it was safe enough for me, at least, to be like, okay, maybe we should put this in some kind of practice. Maybe we should go on field or something. And we were on an app, and then it became fun to check out people and be like, oh, maybe this is cute or this is cute. And I cannot tell and if anyone's cute by a photo. I suck at that, but still, we did it, right? It was kind of fun. And that really put it already into a more practical sphere of, oh, maybe we should maybe have a threesome sometime, or, just to get used to the idea and also explore, and maybe it's fun. And I mean,
It doesn't have to be
yeah,
great.
doesn't yeah
Right. You people
right.
build this stuff up as like, oh, if we finally try this, it's going to be the best thing ever, and
No,
it's going to
actually,
fulfill
we were
all our
like,
fantasies. But people are people.
it's
Even
way
a
more fun if
third.
it's not if it's not that great, and if there's things to
Hmm.
be laughed about or things to
Uh-huh.
be learned. So I think a big part as well is like the sort kind of like Parisian libertine underground sex party. Was it?
Is that where this started?
No, not where it started, but like there's.
I think also there were, well, we have mixed up timelines, that's for sure. But I
I
think it
want
was
to go to
also
this
during
Parisian party.
Oh,
Sounds
it
so
during
was
the
fun.
lovely,
I think
Rob.
it was also a lot of like Corona times, or after or during. So it was also like a time of
Yeah.
time warp, space,
Right.
whatever.
It was before that.
Oh,
And okay, so there's a few things that I can actually remember. That there was one date through field that came here, and then we went to him, and it was a nice connection. And also at one point you didn't really feel it, and I was like, oh, I still want to see him, and you're like, are you sure? He's quite far away. I'm like, that's true. If I tell people I still want to see them, I have to do that actually. So, and
yeah, but
then
it was further down. I think also we had this moment. We had a threesome with one of our sort of friends, quite randomly, after drinking
Oh.
in the city somewhere. You don't remember this?
oh,
You do.
I'm there. Yes, that was fun.
That was fun.
There
and
was just
and
we were
also, I think at that time I had like a super strong connection during a pride walk, and it was also all of a sudden it was like, oh, whoa, I'm kind of like
But then we were already
attracted, or how
open,
does it work?
right? We
Were
were
we?
like open and unhinged. We were like,
Yeah, but I don't
"Yay,
think so. I think
let's
it
have
was
sex in the middle
super.
of your living room."
I don't know. I don't think we were super open then. I think that really helped to be more open, and it was just a. I don't think this was a time that we went through all these. Yeah, I don't know anymore.
I think it's a gradient, Rob. And also,
Timelines.
also what I think is um, obviously you have more shit to talk about. I think
Yeah.
I think polyamory, bisexuality, doing this whole thing together, it is for people who like to talk.
Yeah, you have to like to talk,
I think
otherwise.
so. I think that's very, very true.
We talked
Did
about
you
all
just
these.
did you just open your relationship to have more topics of conversation? Is that why you
Maybe,
did all this? You just
maybe.
ran out of things to talk
Yeah.
about, so you're like, I'm bi, and then you're 2 years later, you ran out of things to talk about.
Open up that can of
Let's have
worms.
sex with other people. We'll have a new topic. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why queerness
Like,
exists, to have an interesting topic of conversation.
right.
But
Yeah.
now we're at such a, it's like
Yeah, tell us about where you are
Yeah,
now from
we're
that point. Yeah.
comfortable. We're it's such a nice place. Like
Yeah.
last Pride was very nice, very good, and very much community, and we feel the people around us, and we feel what we kind of
We
like.
have this nice queer family surrounding us, and that's amazing. But in terms of being open, we are quite comfortable in discussing.
The
We don't
queer
really have
family helps as
rules.
well. It helps to have like
Mm.
5 people at your table and all talk about sex and all talk about things, and that makes it easy to say things.
Yeah.
We're way past that now because we can say anything to each other. But like it does really help to sometimes discuss something with a friend when your partner is also there, because it's less direct.
Yeah.
That's what I really feel. But also like now we're open in a way that it stems from wanting something for the other and believing like, oh, I want to see what you find interesting about this person or hot or whatever, and that
Yeah.
curiosity and that love. And I
But
still
also, we sometimes now have very dry conversations about, like, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, this is a fun example. A few weeks ago, I was still working from home. I think you had the day off or something, but you were also at home. You were like, where are you going with this?
I don't know.
And then at some point I was like, okay, I'm taking your dog to the beach, and after that I'll come back, and then I have time, and then I'm good. And you were like,
wait a minute.
Yeah, wait a minute. I really, really want to have sex right now. Do you want to have sex with me right now? Because if not, in the time that you will be gone, I will probably, have someone come over or have a hookup somewhere or whatever. Um, and so, what do you want to do? I was like, I don't want to have sex right now, but let me think. I could have sex with you when I come back if you can just hold it in for a little longer. And then
You
you were
dirty
like,
slut.
yeah, you dirty slut. And you were like, okay, but only if you promise me, because otherwise we will have beef. Okay, then
Yeah.
then
Then
we
you
have
missed out on
expectation.
your
You didn't
opportunity.
mind it.
no, but it was not expectation, because we actually had a conversation about it.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I could have easily said, "Oh, I don't feel like having sex today," or just go ahead or whatever,
Right.
and it would be fun and fine and great vibes for everyone still. So
Yeah.
we're at that place right now,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is great.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I love
But
it.
also when I come back from a hookup or something, and you can genuinely like feel good for me. That
Yeah.
is that is, and that like helps to talk about things as well, because it's always, it keeps on being difficult to be open. That is
Yeah.
not a thing that you solve and then it's done. It's like you have
Yeah.
to
It's a
work it, because
continuous
there's a
thing.
thing
Yeah.
called society, and it's like gravity pulling you down and
Yeah.
not expressing all these things. But that
But I think
it
being
also feels
so
much safer, because
yeah.
with you I can now also talk about if I had a hookup that didn't feel right or safe or whatever, and then
Yeah.
I can share that
Yeah.
with you, and that
Yeah,
is
and that's super nice as well.
yes.
Yeah, and
Right.
very creating an even closer relationship.
Right. Oh, when I talk to my partner about this stuff, whether it's good or bad, or they're breaking up with someone, like all of that, I feel like I learn more about her. She's learning about me. It's bringing us
Yeah.
closer. It sounds like you two feel compersion, which is like the joy that your partner is having a positive
Sure.
experience, even if it's with someone else. Does jealousy ever come up? How do you deal with it if it does?
I've been jealous,
Yeah.
but also it's also this, almost the same word as afraid for me. Like
Yeah. I think
um,
jealousy, I don't feel jealous that much now. Or
jealousy to me comes from not understanding, not being curious what you like
yeah.
about someone,
Yeah,
and
it's a
Yeah.
being
it's a
threatening.
very self-focused feeling that is always there to unpack further, I think, because it's
Yeah.
usually rooted in insecurity
And
or
insecurity.
in anxiety or
Yeah.
in not feeling good about yourself, or even in not feeling like, oh, you don't spend enough time on me, but that doesn't really happen. I don't think we also maybe that could
I agree.
be more I can imagine that if we were to have more like separate partners, because you have mostly like have hookups or like stuff like that, I can imagine jealousy coming into play more if it were to be like longer relationships, or to have more polyamorous
Yeah.
situation going on. I can imagine that
Right.
that's a whole different,
Well,
well, not
I
a whole
think it
different,
comes
but
down
it's
to the
differently.
same thing, like, because we did that as well a little bit, and also
Yeah, I think it
it
comes down
has
to
to
the
do with
thing,
a
but I
new
can,
insecurity then,
yeah,
like, oh, are you gonna take my quality time,
yeah,
or are you gonna,
Right.
there's all
Right.
these different layers of insecurity, so it
yeah,
usually feelings come to kind of like tell you a message, but that doesn't mean that it can be a very annoying feeling
yeah,
and overwhelming and
yeah,
that you can't
Right.
do
It's
anything
I agree
else.
with you. It's like I always say jealous. I mean, I've learned this from other books and other people, but jealousy is like a signal that something is unaddressed and needs to be addressed. And it's usually more internal. It's not about the other person. It's like, what is this triggering in me? And so it's a signal of something that needs attention in the relationship, but it's not necessarily a bad thing to avoid.
No.
You just mentioned the like poly and getting more, if it were longer term or more intimate. Do you guys identify as poly or just open, or like what kinds of relationships are you exploring
like
now?
let's stretch that up as well a bit.
I think we talked
we're open to
open
things.
Yeah, I think that's for sure. Maybe
and sometimes
poly
there's
or
partners
non-monogamous
more,
or
and sometimes they're more further away.
Uh-huh.
I think we're the kind of polyamory that this is between us is so like visibly strong and has such a foundation that it sometimes people are like, oh, but I can't really come in between you. Those are the people that can't, but people around us that we have such wonderful relationships with see us in that way. And I can do a hookup with somebody who doesn't see us that way, but I couldn't like be in a relationship with somebody who doesn't really understand what's going on here.
Interesting.
I get very taken aback. Like last year, somebody said like, "Oh, but if she know how you look at me, she would see things differently or something like that." And I'm like, I still get so shocked of that. Like, wow,
but we've been together for almost 10 years. So obviously we're such a big part of each other's lives, and the whole journey, the whole queer journey has been a journey together. So we are very much primary partners, I believe so. But also there's been people that are that see that and are like, oh my god, that's amazing. And then all of a sudden there's a whole possibility of having another partner. And but then from that place, from also seeing us as a couple and not being afraid of us being a couple, that's a very strong and important thing, I think.
There's like a little lesson from this, and I know you have 10 minutes, but it's like literally no rules. We don't really do rules.
No.
Like a lot of
that was my next question, actually. You wrote in an email to me like, rules are the silent killer of an open relationship. Tell me about that.
First thing that people want to do when they say, oh, we open up, we should have some rules. That usually people write down shit they already know they're gonna break or they already broke, or like how can you not fall in love with somebody? Like how is that a rule? How can I look at somebody and not fall in love with them? How have I
and the rule thing, I think usually is also rooted from insecurity, and it's always it's a how do you say this, hypothetical, is that a word? It's not true yet. The thing that you imagine could be the worst thing that could happen, but it's not happened yet. Like, you cannot date friends, or you cannot have sex with friends, or whatever. Because of what? Because the relationship
it's a
changed,
rule you made when
you
you
don't
didn't
know.
experience something yet.
Yeah.
So you didn't have that perspective yet because you made those rules. They're old already. Because you haven't.
We had this thing at first, maybe not at first, but I had this thing about you having sex in our bed, for example. And I was like, maybe you cannot do that. So that was basically a rule. Like,
true.
No sex in our bed with people that are not us, or if we are not all there. But then at some point you were like, okay, Vera, it's kind of getting inconvenient for me because I have this nice house. I can host people and I always have to go somewhere if I want to have sex. But, not everyone wants to host. And why couldn't I do it here? Inconvenient. And I was like,
grown-up conversation.
Very grown-up conversation. And I was like, okay. And then I really had to find in myself, what's my discomfort with this? And it's not because of my bed is like this magical place and very sacred or anything. No, not at all. But the only thing I was like feeling hesitant about is basically hygiene. It's like, sure, you can do anything as long as when I come back, my bed is clean. It doesn't smell
Change
like
the
other
sheets.
people. It's not messy. And also put away my fucking jewelry because,
I don't trust the bitches.
I don't trust the
Interesting.
bitches you have over. And that was basically it. So underneath that rule of me not wanting to share my bed was basically only like a thing about hygiene. So
Interesting. Well, the good for you for doing that work and finding out, okay, what's the real thing that's I'm thinking about here, and like not making it about something else that it isn't. The rules, if there are rules, the rules should be fluid, like the people,
and negotiable.
Otherwise, it's not nice for other people either, because like you want to be leveling with people you meet, and it's already we're already this couple, so like it's nice to just be open to people and to let them into my feelings and not into my rules, and then
because also
then
you
they
restrict
with
other
me
people,
with them I can also have like this same
honest
conversation about feelings,
open
like
conversations,
I don't I do want that because of this reason, or I don't want that because of this reason that I'm experiencing now, not that we made up together, because then
it's only
we're gonna be each other's like prisoners or bad guys or whatever. Like
it's only about predefined ideas of what something could or should be, like friends, for example, or it's such the rules are only there to keep a certain concept there in place exactly where it is right now, and not being able to expand or change. And I don't think we should do that.
People
to
should
me,
live.
the only rule, and I wouldn't even call it a rule, but sort of like the principle I like to live by, is to be honest with your partner, and like to be checking in, because how you feel if you're honest now could be different than later. But like that's what makes the strong relationship, is being able to talk about anything, whatever comes up, and being as honest as you can about this stuff.
And also not to like being honest, but also don't expect from your partner to always have to tell everything. So we're so open, we have to tell each other everything right away. No, you can have your privacy and your own thoughts and ideas and encounters. You don't have to tell me everything, as long as you're honest about how you feel and how you're doing.
Sometimes I tell things
you can
that I
have privacy
experienced like months later, because then I kind of like processed it, and then it's like, I can talk about this, and that's
fine.
That's fine.
Right. Sometimes it's hard to share stuff that you're in the middle of processing, and you need some privacy and space in your head to figure it out before you share it. I just want to ask you this very briefly. I don't, it's probably a whole other episode maybe, but you mentioned in an email to me about like, as you're exploring the poly life and opening things up, that you're getting into like sex positivity and BDSM and maybe kink scenes. Like briefly, what's that been like?
Yeah. For me,
if you want to talk about it.
Yes, absolutely. I love talking about it, because for me, this is like even the next step in being able to communicate your needs, and also to be able to communicate the things you want and don't want. So we were in this Parisian scene, and we met this girl there, and she actually taught me a lot about consent and being able to feel your body throughout sex, and being able to say like at any point in time, oh, I like this, or I don't want this or this, and see sex not as an act that you just do in I don't know how many times, how long, but just to be in sex for a longer time with people for a weekend or a day or a night, I don't know. But for me to not see or think about sex in a way of, oh, this is an act and has a beginning and an ending, but more it's play. And with that comes, for me, true consent, not just, oh, do you want to have sex? Yes or no? No. Oh, do you like this? Can I go here? Would you like to try out something like this? Oh, haha, fun. And gender play and everything is way more possible there, because it's so safe. And for me, in like my sexuality, like I mentioned before, I never really explored my sexuality in a way of what could it mean or what could it be. And for me now, it's like it's opened up this whole new world of of finding out what I like and how I like to interact with people during
Yeah.
sex, basically.
Cool.
Right.
And
I
also
love
you're
it.
Does it make
bringing the
sense?
fashion into it. Vera made for this last Pride this amazing leather harness,
Yeah,
and
very hot.
it's so nice, and
Mm.
it's kind of like it's like fetish wear, but also you made it yourself, and like and then you were wearing it. Like now I get the fetish part of it, because it does
The leather
something with
fetish,
how
it's
I
how I feel, and the smell does
Mm.
something to it. It's like, yeah, really, really nice. Yeah.
you
Cool.
can click
Hot.
your dick to it
I
and
can, I can strap my,
Oh.
top me.
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
Yes,
but
Oh.
the play element,
send you pictures.
yeah, but the play
Please.
element really it changed something in my way of thinking
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
sex.
Yeah.
Um, just
Same.
taking it out of the context of a beginning and an ending, but just playing and enjoying each other's body and feelings and vibes. And oh,
Right.
you like this? Oh, maybe I can bite you here. Oh, you like that? Okay, maybe try harder. Or we should, so
Right.
continuously checking in, and yeah,
There's
I love
often
it.
so much pressure on sex and the
Yes.
completion of a sex act and orgasm, and like in these play spaces I've been to, especially kink scenes, like
Hmm.
it's what you're describing. It's like all these little moments and what you like and don't, but it's not like all building up toward this one thing that means sex has
No,
happened. It's like
no,
it's actually redefining what intimacy is and
yeah.
learning about yourself. Yeah.
We love
Cool.
redefining, don't we?
Yes.
Yes, yes, exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
we are almost out of time. Last final question, and then we'll have to have you back to get more into all the BDSM and the pegging that you're doing. Uh, but for today, we touched on this a lot. It seems like I can hear this in all your answers, but to leave off, how does your sexuality bring you joy in your life?
Oh, that's a nice question. I once thought that it would always bring me pain. I really believe that. I
Yeah.
freaking broke through it at a Tony Robbins seminar. I'm not even kidding you. We do
Really? Is that
and
true?
we did
It's
this in the
true.
living
Yeah.
room, and with the whole,
It's a
yeah,
whole other
it's a
story.
whole
Oh my
story.
God.
I was like,
That
there
is
should be like
shocking.
a, yeah,
It
yeah,
is,
it is
but
so.
it's such a nice, well,
Oh, and it should be like a limiting belief, right? You want to break through, and it was like bisexuality will always bring me pain, and I really thought that, like, because like, oh, I
Yeah.
can find pleasure then, and we can make this relationship work, but still underneath it all, it will still bring pain, and it
but it
doesn't.
does
It
not.
was a lie. How
Yeah.
does it bring me joy? It brings me joy in the. I think that people who see me and look at me and are like, "Oh, nice! I see you." Like when I walk to the train in the morning and I see people looking at me and see new possibilities in their eyes. That, oh, yeah, that's what I really live
I
for.
tattooed the word muse on Leroy's arm because he loves to
Mm.
be seen by people, and then
And
give them
then
new
give
inspiration or
them
new
something.
ideas
Yeah, that's really how it
Yeah.
for you.
joy.
I
Yeah.
think for me, it's
I love it.
I think it gave yeah, it has given me and continuously gives me a better and deeper and more joyous way to connect with people. Um, I think that's for me mostly it, to be able to let my guards down and to be open with people and really, really find connection. I think if
Yeah.
I would have never discovered this part of myself, I would have never have those deep connections in that level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's like a lot of what you guys have described in the journey of this is like difficult conversations and difficult feelings and like learning to address that even when it's scary. And I think it is really scary, but like then if you do that, the work, you get to the place where you just described, where like that actually opens so much up, and you gain all this awareness of
Yeah.
yourself that's complicated, and you really just like have more confidence in yourself and ability to have those conversations and go deeper and deeper. What's he doing? He's
He
done.
was running off to the toilet. No.
He's had enough of this interview.
I saw him twitching for a second already, and he was like, I really need to go now.
well, okay, I guess we'll wait to end the interview until he gets back. I was literally 30 seconds away from ending.
Well, when it's done. That's true. No, but it's true. The thing,
That's funny.
The connection and the joy, the deep connections, and also the things we experience now with our little queer family. There's sometimes people joining us, they're like 21 and just transitioning, for example, or finding their gender, and to be able to connect with people that are so young but also are so wise already. And I don't know, it's just created such a great connection with so many amazing people. Leroy is back.
Yeah, that was fast. That was fast. Yeah,
it
is changing among young. It is changing among young people. Hello, and as important as it is to do the hard work and the things that brings you, I do hope it's not as hard for the next generation, and it, the way things are changing and the things they're growing up with as normal that we didn't grow up with as normal.
Yeah,
they won't.
I hope that makes it easier. But then again, the hard stuff forms who you are too, and is important as well. So that makes sense.
And and everything matters. Like every time that we talk about it, we show ourselves, we fucking kiss in gay bar or whatever. Like when I'm picking up my kid from school wearing makeup, like everything you do creates culture. And
cool. Great. One beautiful place to leave. We could go on for hours. When I visit Amsterdam, we'll have to do another in-person episode. But it's also just beautiful that you had that you overcame that limiting belief of like, this is always a negative thing in my life. And now look, like how not just okay it is, but how positive it is, and how much joy it's brought you and new experiences it has brought you. And so
for sure.
Beautiful. Well, thank you. Thanks, Vera and Leroy, for finally. I'm so glad we finally got you on. I'm excited to see you again in person someday. Come visit Los Angeles. I'll come to Amsterdam.
Thanks for making this, Rob.
Yes, thank you so much. And thank you for having us.
We were on parallel journeys, it seems like, in 2017, 2018.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys found the podcast and that we connected, and everyone should go listen to your podcast. If you speak English, you can listen to the episode I'm on. If you speak Dutch, check out all of them. And check the show notes for some other links and stuff.
Mostly. We do most of our Instagram in English.
Yeah.
I'll put your Instagram in the show notes. People can watch some clips and stuff.
The names are too difficult.
Yeah.
I can't even try to spell your name, but it'll be in the show. It'll be in the title of the episode, and I'll copy and paste it. Cool. Well, thank you guys so much. It's great to see you. This was a lovely chat. Thanks for being on Two Bi Guys.
Thank you so much.
Ciao, Rob.
Bye.
Bye.
Two Bi Guys by One Bi Guy is produced and edited by me, Robert Brooks Cohen, and it was created by me and Alex Boyd. Our new logo art is by Caitlin Weinman. Our music is by Ross Mincer. To help support this podcast, visit patreon.com/Robert Brooks Cohen. You'll get full video episodes, early access, and bonus content. Visit robertbrookscohen.com to learn more about my coaching, my book, and my stand-up comedy. And thanks for listening to Two Bi Guys by One Bi Guy.